morning, how you guys doing? Welcome back to the channel. So we are here in the Integra, freezing my butt off because this car doesn't have heat, and it's like 9 in the morning and it's like 40 degrees. I had already filmed a video the other day and I just had to go through the footage, and I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna delete it. I basically filmed the whole video on polishing the Miata, the blue one, and turned out like trash. I mean, the car didn't turn out like trash. It's not bad, but it could definitely be shinier. But I couldn't figure out why, because normally my brother does my polishing and stuff, or helps me, and he just has everything set up, so I kind of just show up and help, and that's it. Learning curve, and so basically I threw all that footage away because it made me just look stupid. And so I had to order the right stuff. I ordered some stuff on Amazon, a good product that he uses. What's up, pup? And so yeah, waiting for that to come in. So in the meantime, today we're going to be building the bash bar for the white Miata, because I've been wanting to build one for a minute now because I have the rear bumper cut. Let me just show you. I rocked this rear bumper cut, and as you can see, that big old black piece right here, that's plastic, and it's really ugly. So that's the actual bumper itself, because you know that's technically bumper cover. But yeah, so objective is to replace that with a nice fancy metal tubular one that I'm gonna make, and if it turns out well, I may offer it for others. I know there's a few other companies on the market that make bash bars and whatever for these cars, but I don't want to buy one when I can just as easily make one and make it to my liking. Even though it's probably gonna look similar, maybe even the same to some on the market, whatever, it's mine and I made it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go to Dunkin'. Yesterday was my birthday, so I got some Dunkin' gift card money, you know, and we're gonna go get some coffee and get back here. I just feel like driving the Integra. Drove it yesterday, had some fun, even though it's very cold out. This has heat, this does not, but I just feel like driving this. Some of you guys have been asking me where the Integra's been, what I plan on doing with it. Integra's been nowhere. It's been sitting at the house. I drive it every now and again. I thought I would drive it more now that it's winter, but it's actually been pretty cold. And again, this thing doesn't have heat. My right-hand drive clip didn't have heat. It didn't have any of that. I'd love to find an aftermarket way to add heat, whether it be some sort of just like electric fan type thing. I don't need it crazy. I just need anything really. But I just don't have the money to put into the Integra. The one main thing that I do plan on doing now, somebody is sending me out some plugs for my new cluster, my DB8 cluster, the GSR one. So I'm gonna install that, but other than that, I just really want to go through the wiring. Long-term goal, rip this car down back to a bare shell. Well, I don't know about bare shell, but at least inside, completely strip it out, redo the wiring, sand it, paint it, shave the excess crap, like all the rear seatbelt stuff, get rid of all that. Wow, that was all sugar. There's not a whole lot for me to do to this car. Like, at some point in its life, I'll get it professionally painted, but I obviously can't afford that now. So in the meantime, I mean, mechanically, it's pretty much got all it needs. I mean, I think it might need maybe a new fuel filter or something, because I noticed it's got a little bit of a hesitation on the bottom end, but it is what it is. Car runs good. Don't need to change stuff. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. So just wanted to throw that out there. The Integra's definitely here. I'm sorry I don't make more content on it. If you guys want to see like driving videos and stuff like that, I actually just I'm trying to work on my GoPro setup stuff. And if you guys are into that, let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see that, because I'll happily drive this car around for content and have fun with it like that. But there's just not really much physical work for me to be doing on the car. Enough rambling though. You guys know the story on the Integra. It's not going nowhere. It's just chilling, just enjoying it. Let's get this bumper off.
was definitely a lot of work to get all this off, but the bumper cover itself had a bunch of plastic screws on the top, a few 10 mils on each side. Then the bumper bar itself was actually had to take this top piece off first because this is what the bumper actually bolts to on top, or screws to. And then you had the bumper itself, and then its mounting plates. So I'm probably gonna have to go buy some flat steel. I don't think the pieces that I have are big enough to cover this spot, but that's basically what we're gonna be doing, is mounting it. I'm gonna use the same style so I don't have to bolt it to it like weld nuts to it. I'm gonna just weld bolts to the plates, slide the bolts through, and then tighten it down with nuts on the inside. Just like the OE thing, like that. Should be easy. Only part that it's a little confusing to me is actually getting the dimensions on like how far the bar is supposed to come out, you know, like how far out it is to the bumper. So I'm gonna play around with it, try and take some measurements, and I'll go from there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get some different plates because these ones aren't big enough. I need like a 6" by 6". This is a 4" by 4". So I'm sure there's a better way to go about getting the measurements for this, but to me this was the easiest way. I just put the end bolts on the bumper, and I have the center of the bumper supported with the jack stand, and I'm gonna just crawl under really quick with a tape measure and kind of get the general thing. But I'm gonna wait till I get back from the metal store. It's like a 40-minute drive, so I'll be back after that. But once we get back, then I will take measurements from the inside to the inside, kind of see what room I'm working with. It looks pretty simple to do, honestly. Okay, I'm finally back. Got some new MIG wire because I ran out the other day, totally forgot. Good thing I remember while I was out. And we got some plates. This is what they had, 6 by 6. It was already pre-cut, pre-drilled, so thankfully 3 of the 4 bolts actually line up, and if I use a smaller bolt, I can get the 4th corner in. So that's good. So I'm gonna pull the bumper off, mount those, and then start getting my dimensions. Found an easier way to actually go about getting this measured up. So what I'm gonna do is pull the bumper off, and then I'm gonna just make the bar itself to the bumper, and then I can figure out how long I need it to be to bolt it to the car to notch my piece that goes from the plates to the bar. Because then it'll be pretty easy, because in total it's a 180-degree bend. So I just got to do the calculations to figure out which bends are going to be where. So it should be pretty easy because it's going to be basically almost a 90. There'll be a slight like bump here, so it'll probably be like, I don't know, 80 and 10 degrees in the middle or something. But thankfully I've got Bendtech software that'll help me out with that. I took some measurements of the inside of the bumper, got a little bit confused on the inside like height of the thing, so I just bolted this all up with one bolt just to get my measurement from like where the mounting plate's gonna be to the outside. And then I do want it to have like a slight, because you can kind of see how it's not totally straight, it kind of bows with it a little bit. Obviously I can't get that slight bow, so what I did is I did it as a 3-piece bend. So I drew it up here on the computer, used a pre-made template. So you can see, so the total length across from outside tube to outside tube is what I measured it as. I wanted it to be 55 inches because that'll be a really tight fit in the bumper. And then the top of the tube, like the height of the whole piece, I wanted it to be 16 inches because that'll bring it back a little bit by the turn signal or the running light or whatever. And then the height from the first bend, where I wanted the first bend to be actually in the bumper, is going to be 8 inches. So there it is. That's my part drawn up. Gives me my dimensions right there. So I'm going to go ahead and go cut my tube. I need a 74 and 27/32 length tube. So let's go get that cut up real quick and then mark our bend points. So for this job, I will be using 1.5" DOM by 120 wall. That's your normal roll cage stuff. So it's good, strong stuff. And just got my good old Harbor Freight bandsaw here. And we'll get this cut up. Well, I hope I don't mess this piece up because that's a big old piece of material. So this is the bender that I'll be using. This is the JD Squared Model 32. This is the manual version, and if you're wondering why it's kind of out here in the middle of my yard, it's because I do not have any space here in my shed, shop, whatever you want to call it. I wasn't able to afford to get the hydraulic one with the big ram on it, so eventually I will upgrade to that, but for now I don't mind doing the manual labor. I just had to put it out here because I couldn't do long pieces of tube or tight bends because I just didn't have the space for it. But this is what I'm using. Got my 1.5" die. This is my first time using it, so I already programmed it into the software, so it already knows how much spring back and everything, and the center line radius and how much material it's going to cost for the bends. So that's where all those calculations came into on the computer. So now with our tube cut, let me go mark it up really quick at our bend points, and then we can get started. All right, we got the tube bent up. I was going to film it, but this thing absolutely kicked my butt. This 120 wall is definitely some thick stuff. So we got 83 degrees here, 13 degrees here. Just finished up the 83 degrees there. You can kind of, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but we're good to go. Let's go test fit this against the bumper and see how we did. Well, right off the bat, looks like it'll be a tight fit, but I think we can make it work. Okay, I think this is pretty much just how we want it. I did have these pieces on the end here. I had these the length that I did because I wanted it to come down more along the side here for some, like, you know, side protection. I think it should be coming around right here. So now I'm gonna get my plates mounted up, and then I can kind of mock it up in place. So I got the dimensions a little bit wrong. I did the height, like how tall the total piece is gonna be. Got that a couple inches too tall. I couldn't really get a good measurement because I wasn't too sure where I was gonna sit, but it's a good thing I made it too long instead of too short. So let me kind of show you what I mean. And I'm gonna be the first to say I messed up the bends. It looks good on the camera, I'm sure, unless you noticed it already. But the bend angles were right at first, but the die, I love JD Square products, but the issue that I have with them is that they just overload way too much powder coat on it, so it's really hard to get the pins down. And the centering pin for the actual die itself, I thought it was all the way down, but it turns out halfway through my bend, it had lifted and angled like that, so it ruined my, not ruined, but it messed up my first bend and caused it to get overbent. Because it was not sitting in the right spot. So the other bends are in the right position, but that first bend got overbent, so it kind of threw the whole thing out of whack. So instead of it being like a nice even thing, it kind of comes up good on that side, and then it does the 13, and then it kind of flattens out a little bit more on the other side. So because of that, for my mounting points, I have the bumper on because I was test fitting the bar itself. The bar itself fits pretty good, but let me show you. So the gap is bigger on this side than on that side, and that's because the angle got messed up. So I have to cut the ends off, which is fine. I'm about to do that. But so I have a 3-inch piece that I'm gonna notch, and I have an 1 3/4 piece that I'm gonna notch, and I'm gonna roll with it because this isn't a production item. This is just for myself. And this was definitely one of those parts where, you know, I thought I had it. I swear this would have been perfect had that die not messed up. So I'm gonna pull that off. I'm gonna show you really quick how to notch these tubes, and we'll get going. So you can notch with a tube notcher. In this case, this piece is too small, too short for me to put in my tube notcher, and I don't have an 1.5" notch tube hole saw thing. I have a 1 inch, 1 3/4, and 1 1/4, but I don't have an 1.5. But it's okay, because after doing this enough, I've found that half the stuff that I notch anyway, I can't use on my tubing notcher. And you can go online, you can print out templates, which really helps. I have a couple. They basically look like this. So in this degree, this would be a 60-degree notch, I believe, or a 30-degree. I think it's 60 because it's 30 degrees off 90. But yeah, you can kind of see. So in this case, if this was it, I would just slide over my tube, trace it, and cut it by hand. So in this case, because we're doing a straight notch, it works in a lot of different scenarios. But so for this being 1.5", what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our center line. So I'm gonna use the seam line as my first side right there. So we'll do middle of that for my first line, straight across from there for the second line, and then come completely offset like that. So rule of thumb is 1/3 tube diameter is the amount that you want to coat the other tube. So in this case, I'm gonna make my center line mark right here just so I know where it is. I'm gonna just come down 1/2 inch. So you can definitely do this by hand, and once you get good enough at it, it becomes pretty natural. So that's what we're gonna do. Come down 1/2 inch to right there. So you got your line, just like that. Let me focus that up for you. Okay, you got your 1/2 inch line right there, and you're just gonna do that for all 4 corners, and then all you're gonna do is attach them diagonally like that, and then you just cut your notch, and that's it. And because this is just a regular 90, it doesn't really matter which way we notch. So you're gonna come, and we're just gonna bring it straight diagonal down, just like that, and down the other side too. So that way all we gotta do is take the hole saw, or not the hole saw, the cutoff wheel, and just chop and chop. And then obviously just double it up, making sure it all lines up on all 4 sides, and you're good to go. Okay, cutoff wheel, not perfect, but you know, that's what you get the belt sander for. Just go ahead and clean up the belt sander on the belt sander and use a flat disc to hog out the insides. I don't know what type of wire I grabbed for my welder, but it was definitely not normal MIG welding wire. I didn't read the boxes. I didn't really pay attention to what I was grabbing because all the boxes looked alike, and it was in the same corner that I always reach for my normal stuff. But so I have to end up throwing that whole roll away because I have no idea what it is, but it's not welding. It's not penetrating, so I think it's for something else, maybe even like aluminum wire somehow. I don't know, because I don't have a spool gun set up, so that's not it, but whatever it is, it's not working. So I had to line it up and tack it with the TIG, which is fine. But my issue that I've ran into is this piece here. See this big O section here under the taillight? This side of the car doesn't have that, and it's not like I cut that away. That's just not there, because normally from factory this has a big O muffler there and all that stuff. You can see the hangers back there. So the issue that I've ran into is now I just was not paying attention, so this is sitting crooked a couple degrees, which definitely could be prettier, but you know, could be worse also. I mean, really all I have to do is just move this mounting point, which I may do, I may not, because like I said, that part's gonna be covered by the bumper anyway, and all I care for is the V that comes down with the jack point, because it is what it is. So learn from my mistake, pay closer attention to your chassis. Yeah, you know, I may actually move that down because that's easy fix, but whatever. All right, so I had to come in for the night. I went and I was looking at the bar this morning, and I need to remake it. I completely screwed it up, and there's a few reasons why. Not only because it was unlevel, because last night I went and made a new piece that I was gonna reattach. I made this piece so I could mount this end lower, so that way it would at least be level across the thing, but even that's not going to be sufficient because it's still going in the wrong spot. And then something else I didn't take into consideration was the top of the bumper. I need to have that bar higher because the bumper basically needs to be resting on it. So with that said, I'm just claiming defeat, and I have to waste this bar, which the pride in me is very, very angry. And I know this is all a learning curve. Every time I make something new like this, it's learning. So it just sucks that it's a financial mistake that I have to make. But I redesigned the bar a little bit. I'm gonna do it a 4-point bend to try and see if I can't follow the contour of the bumper a little bit better. I'm gonna retake my measurements because this bar honestly was just a hair too long, so I think I'm gonna drop it down to 54 inches outside edge to outside edge, rebend it, and we'll see what that goes, or see how that makes it, and we'll go from there. All right, so the second bar fit the bumper perfectly. I got it taped up in there. That's what all this tape is. It's actually holding the bar. And then I also got a jack supporting it from underneath because it is kind of heavy. So I've already got ahead and started making my supports. This is actually going to mount into the plates that's up there. So this is the part that I'm confused on, is how to find exactly the angles that I need. So this one I just kind of got lucky with. This one fits. I notched it. Had to be a little bit more notched on the one side than the other because the bend. So I'm gonna finish notching the other one I got in the shed right now, and then we can tack that in place. I finally went and bought some of the right wire because I think this wire that I bought is actually flux core wire instead of MIG welding wire. So that's definitely an issue. But so that's what I'm gonna do. Let me show you guys really quick if I can get under there. Oh, yep, there it is. It follows the contour of the bumper so much better than that first one did. All right, got the bash bar tacked in place. Took the rear bumper cover off. You guys can see it's a nice tight fit around here because the bumper only comes out just a little bit more past that. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay a few more tacks up top here so that way I can take the whole thing apart. And then from there, see, oh yeah, see, it looks so much better than the other one. It's actually even now. But yeah, from here, we can go ahead and get these pieces. I don't know if I'm gonna weld them all the way up yet. I'm gonna try and make the center point and then make my 30-degree bends because that way it's kind of triangulated. And we're gonna attach the jack point here and then the support legs from this to jack point and then from that bar to jack point. But looking much, much better than the other one was, that's for darn sure. So finally, a lot of notching later, I finally got my center post, my jack point AKA, and my sport bars. So the sport bars are going to these. So I think this one's just a hair off, but it's close enough. I think it's nice. It's pretty darn close. So these are 25-degree bends. I think this area is really just up to you. I just kind of measured and try to follow the general shape of the tape measure that I took. So in my case, it was right around 17 inches from here to here and here to here. So that's pretty much all I did. And I did a 20-degree to start because I started low. It looked a little shallow, so then I added 5 more degrees and that looked okay to me. So everything's hand notched, so it could be a little bit better. This one's notched pretty well. Slight gap on the bottom there, slight gap on the top there, but nothing I can't really fill. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing off, get it welded up, and we'll finish this thing up. All welded up. It's definitely heavier than I thought it was going to be. I think next time, because I am using 1.5 by 120 wall DOM, so I think next time for making a bash bar, I might use 0.95, but this thing is definitely freaking cool. I'm stoked. All welded up. Welded pretty easy. I like being able to run it hot and stuff like that. This is just a Harbor Freight welder too. Titanium MIG 140 for those of you wondering. So that welder handled that absolutely no problem. So I'm stoked. I got it. It looks good. I'm proud of myself. So if you guys found this video enjoyable or you learned something, please let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you've considered subscribing by now. I'm gonna slap this on, then I got some errands to go run. So yeah, you guys should get out there and try and build one for yourself. So do what you love, think about the rest, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.